Monica Padilla competed on the 19th season of Samoa, where she finished in 7th place. Starting off slowly before forming a strong bond with Laura Moret in the early part of the game, she was one of the post-merge people not to be swayed by Russell and stayed loyal to Galoo before eventually being voted out and joining the jury. In our chat with Monica, she gives us reasons why you need to vote for her to play for a second time on season 31, why losing Russ Swan really didn't affect Galoo after the merge, and how busy life has become with campaigning, as well as talking about soap operas and celebrating the Puerto Rico Survivor family. Monica, huge pleasure to have you here on Survivor Oz.
Oh, so happy to be here. How are you?
I am great. I am very well. It's a big, busy week for, I think, people involved in Survivor media, but more importantly, big, busy week for a bunch of 32 contestants who want to get back on the show, including yourself. Have you slept much campaigning out there at the moment, Monica?
I've slept. I mean, I definitely, at the end of the night, I just pass out. I mean, even last night I was watching Game of Thrones and I couldn't even get through the episode. I was just so exhausted. And I'm tossing and turning a little bit just with the anxiety of wanting to know the results already. And, you know, just it's been a fun, busy, anxious week all at the same time.
Well, because you guys have all known about this for some time, obviously. I mean, a lot of Survivor people knew about this for a while, but it's sort of all been officially confirmed. So was it waiting for that day where it's all confirmed so you don't have to kind of keep it a secret and you can really start this campaigning?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so hard to keep it in. It's just such a big thing, you know? I mean, for me anyway, it's really important to me. And I was really excited to start campaigning and start sharing the news. And I mean, they really kept it hush hush for quite some time, you know? And when they finally pulled the plug and said, all right, you know, the announcement's going up, it was just such a relief not having to keep it a secret anymore.
I mean, how did that initial contact come? Because I've sort of read some things around the place that you have been approached before to return for other seasons. But, I mean, this time around it seems to have all come together that you're really in with a shot of going back.
Yeah, I mean, usually someone from casting that you communicated with your first time contacts you and asks you basically, would you be interested? And at that time, you know, say yes or no. And for some people, they say no, no way. For me, I was like, absolutely. Tell me when, tell me where, and I'll go. So that was awesome, and I was really excited to get the call. But you know, when you get the call, you just never know if they're going to follow through with it, if there's going to be a different direction that they decide to go in. So you just kind of cross your fingers and hope for the best.
And in terms of sort of the reaction then out there in the fan community, because I mean you're always active on social media. I always see your posts out there, Monica, anyway. So I mean, have you sort of been getting some great feedback from a lot of the Survivor fans out there with your name being on the list?
Oh, yeah. I've gotten some awesome feedback. It has been so much fun reading everyone's comments and their posts, and just knowing that everybody didn't forget about me is kind of nice. It warms the heart a little bit. But it's so cool. I mean, they're making collages, they're making videos, and it's stuff that I even forgot was out there. Or they're even bringing up certain memories and things like that. Someone was asking me, there was a song that I sang randomly when I was like opening a coconut, and I was like, it was like Spanish, and they're like, what song was that? And I still didn't, I have to answer him on Twitter, and it wasn't any particular song. It was like something I just made up in my head to some jingle I probably heard. But it's just so funny, the things that people remember, you know.
Some Survivor fans have very long memories and will remember very subtle little things. How has sort of the reaction been from your Samoa cast? Have a lot of them sort of reached out to you and getting behind you to get back on the show?
No, not really. Not that much. I know I spoke to Shambo last week, and that was awesome. It was her birthday. Laura's daughter is competing again, and so I haven't really spoken to them because the general rule is you're not supposed to really speak to anyone that's competing or that is a contestant. I know I see people communicating, but I just don't even want to piss production off. And then, I mean, I stay in touch with Brett Klauser, but Brett's not really into Survivor, so I don't think he hasn't reached out because we have a problem or he doesn't think I should go, but he kind of, that was a chapter of his life that's closed. Dave Ball did respond. Dave Ball was like, no way, you got too skinny last time. I don't want you to go back. So that was really cute. But other than that, no. I know that Russ Swan is staying pretty neutral and just wishing luck to everyone because a fan asked him that. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. I mean, but Russ and I had our own little standoffs while we were out there. So I guess maybe it's not that much of a shock that he's not, garnering up a ton of support and campaigning on my behalf.
I haven't even seen what he's been doing out there. But I think Russell is going for Michaela and Natalie. I'm not sure who he's going for, actually.
He's given support my way. He's given support to Stephanie, who he played with, Michaela, I think. So he's been pretty good, and he's super into it. I mean, he's so into Survivor as it is. I think he's always going to be in the game.
Yes.
Mentally.
Seems that way. It must be an interesting prospect with Sierra being on the list, because obviously you and Laura were quite close out there. So it must be kind of interesting then perhaps that you could be playing with her daughter.
I know, isn't that crazy? It's pretty crazy to me. I used to hear so much about Sierra when we were out there. And Adam, Laura's other son, and it's just so funny that after hearing all those stories, I guess never in a million years would I have imagined that I could possibly be playing with one of her kids who I heard so much about. So it's just funny how things change,
Did you watch Blood vs. Water when Sierra and Laura were on it?
You know what? I missed a lot of it. I saw quite a bit, but I missed a good amount at that time.
So in terms of the other contestants that you're up against, have you stayed in touch with kind of how they've gone on their seasons, or obviously some of the seasons that were before yours, to really think of ideas of how they might play should you be playing against them?
Yeah, I mean, it's smart to do that, and I've been doing that for sure. I just want to... It's very different than the first time you play because you're going on with a bunch of strangers. Here, it's like everybody's kind of an open book, You can go back and you just check out the playbook and just thumb through, and see how they played, what they did. And, I mean, it's not a completely clear indicator of how they will perform moving forward. But, I mean... history doesn't lie, I guess. You know what I mean?
That's a good way of looking at it. I mean, were you a big Survivor fan before you played the first time around?
I wasn't a huge Survivor fan. I know when it had first started in the early seasons, I loved it, and I was a big fan. I know we used to do pools at the office for who would win. And I mean, this was like, I was in high school. This was, 15 years ago, I'd say? Something like that, which is so crazy to me. But yeah, I was a fan on the early seasons, and then I went in and out throughout, kind of like with soap operas.
Wow!
But I feel like no matter what, when you come back, you can figure out what's going on.
Yes, that's very true. I used to do that with Days of Our Lives. If I was homesick from school, I'd be home, and in a couple of months, this is what happened 3 months ago. But Bo and Hope are still fighting, so.
Yeah, it's like, they've been fighting for 6 months. Exactly. No, that's the same way I'm with Days, and I haven't watched Days in a little while, but I could turn on Days tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and I'll be like, Marlena, don't trust him,
I remember she was possessed by the devil, I think, one time. I vaguely remember.
Yeah, she was. And then Bo's wife was buried alive. At one point.
Wow, this is turning into a soap opera chat, but goodness me.
I know. But with Survivor, it's like, you know in the first few challenges, that they're going to give you fishing supplies. Mm-hmm. You're going to be playing for chickens. You're going to be playing for Flint. They're not going to be giving you steak or donuts or food within the first few days. So in that sense, it's a little bit predictable, but at the same time, the show keeps throwing in so many twists that you just never know what you might come across.
Well, you came from a season where, I mean, a lot of what was introduced to Survivor, I should say, was there. So things like idols and, you avoided any type of island. But, you sort of were in that era of Survivor where a lot of what is there today is still there, unlike, say, some of the older school players. So do you kind of feel that will help you a little bit on a second time around, knowing that you don't have to adapt to finding an idol or things like this because you already were used to that when you played?
I mean, yes and no, because when we played, it's not like I found an idol at any moment, I knew that they were in the game, and I knew they existed, and I knew that people had them. But I didn't really get the chance to get my hands on an idol or even outsmart someone who had the idol. Because if you remember, we only flushed one idol when we were there. And Russell's play of the second idol really messed up our entire gameplay. So, I mean, yeah, the experience of that, I'll never let someone do that to me again and blindside us in a way like that, or I should hope I wouldn't. So in that sense, I have an advantage, but it's also, I think it's a pretty even playing field. I mean, these guys invented the game, you know? They were the ones who started the alliances back in the day, some of the earlier seasons that are up for this next season. So I'm sure that they can show us a thing or two as well.
I mean, how do you react then to seeing, say, a Kelly Wigglesworth or a Kimmy and a Jeff and a T-Bird from these original ones that you were saying you used to watch back in the day? I mean, is there kind of an element of, wow, those people, I loved them, or is it completely game face and you've got to really put all that aside?
I mean, you kind of have to put it aside, but you can't completely ignore it. I think it's pretty cool to go in there and be playing with them, some of the OGs of Survivor, you know? Like, these guys paved the way for all of us. If it wasn't for them, there wouldn't have been 30 seasons of Survivor. They would have just stopped on season 2 or 3. So, you know, it speaks a lot on their behalf.
I love that, the OGs. I think I'm going to have to bring that up to them from now on. They'll like that, I feel.
They are, though. They really are the OGs of Survivor. I mean, it's so easy to say, okay, I'm going to play a game like this person or that person after you have 30 seasons and 400 contestants. But when you have someone coming in from season 1, season 2, season 3, and you only really have 3 seasons to reflect on, if they've even seen all of them, they kind of have to reinvent the wheel, you know, whereas we kind of know familiar plays from previous seasons.
I think the question that is often brought up when we're chatting to you guys over the next week or so, of course, is, how will you play next time around? And it's sort of an easy question to look at in one way, but of course, a lot of that changes when you're out there. I guess with you though, Monica, given that you went into the merge on Samoa and Galoo with such an advantage, and as we sort of touched on with Russell, I mean, things kind of didn't really stay that way. So does that make you very wary should you be in a similar situation at the merge? You're like 8-4 up, and you're all of a sudden thinking, well, let's just not get ahead of ourselves here.
Absolutely. I mean, at the time, I remember being wary of it as well. It just seemed like an odd sense of calm going on in the air, and for some reason, I just had this gut feeling that Russell might have the idol, or that there was an idol at the Foafoas within that tight 4-person alliance. And looking back, that was probably the biggest mistake of the game, was underestimating whether or not they had that idol. Because at that point, they just started picking us off one by one by one.
It's interesting, I think, and I love always asking people from Galoo from your season about Russell's Swan factor and kind of your thoughts on when he left the game. I mean, did you really feel that was also a big factor why Galoo, what happened to them? Or would Russell have been there not made too much of a difference had he not been evacuated?
I don't think it would have made that much of a difference. I mean, especially for my gameplay. Russell was not my biggest fan at the time, and I was not his biggest fan at the time. If you remember, he was one of the ones that was advocating voting me out in the beginning with Yasmin and Shambo, and it was what Shambo liked to call the 90210 Alliance that kept me in the game. So I don't know. I think that for me, it would have been worse had Russell stayed around. I don't think Russell would have been so quick to vote off Eric. And I just don't think it would have been a great idea for me to have him around, because I don't think that we would have been able to work off of each other very much. I mean, it was really sad when he was evacuated out. I felt horrible on a human level. But afterward, on a game level where the numbers sat, I felt that it was better for me that he was not in the game.
Did you see his second time around in the Philippines?
Yeah, I did.
That was quite interesting, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. I think that he has a very type A personality, and sometimes it's not exactly rational. But we're still, I mean, we're on good terms. We're friends. There's just certain things about his gameplay that I didn't entirely agree with.
Right. Well, I mean, one person, though, you mentioned Shambo, that you obviously spoke to her recently, so glad to hear that that's still sort of a friendship you guys have. But what was that like living with Shambo? Because I think everybody from, who watched your season absolutely loved Shambo. I mean, let's be honest.
Shambo was tough. I mean, Shambo was fun to watch for everybody else, but for us to live with her, it was really tough. She was always like trying to fix things or do stuff around camp, and then somehow she would mess some things up. Shambo worked really hard around camp and helped us like with the fire and everything, and she kind of tried to take more credit than she probably deserved. But she was tough, She never knew what you would get from her. You never knew what would piss her off. And we were considering that all the way through. So Shambo is another one that on that first tribal, we had considered voting Shambo out instead of Yasmin because she's such a wild card. Mm. And I wonder to this day what would have happened if we had voted her out, because Shambo was, the nail in the coffin per se when it came down to us losing our advantage, because she was the flip that made our 6-4 advantage turn to 5-5.
Very big what-if situation there, Monica, that we talk a lot about on this show. But yeah, it's a big one there, really, because, again, season might have been completely different. Might not have had Russell Hantz as the character he is today, and could have changed Survivor history, not just Samoa history.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows?
Exactly.
Now, I don't want you to name names, again, because we don't want you getting yourself into trouble if any of the other contestants on season 31 are listening to this, but are there people that you're looking at on that list that you're straight away like, I want to work with them, I don't want to work with them, and just really starting to form those opinions?
Yeah, yes and no. It's funny because there are people that in the beginning when I saw the list, I was like, wow, that's a cool person. I totally want to work with them. And then just seeing their social media and some of their campaigns, I'm like, that's not what I thought they would be like. And I mean, it's funny how much you can either start to sway toward a person or kind of be a little bit disgusted by them just based on their social media and their campaign. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get out there and whether or not those opinions will be set or whether or not they will change those opinions. And vice versa. There could be people that you're like, oh my God, they're amazing. I can't wait to play with them. And then you get out there and you're like, oh my God, I want to kill them.
Well, this is what's so fascinating about this, because it's so open that, I mean, whenever there's been returning player seasons, obviously it's been kept hush-hush. And, I mean, of course, there's contact made between some people, and that happens all the time with these sort of things, but this time, as fans ourselves, we can see these interactions on social media like you're talking about, so it's really interesting being able to be an observer of how some people are treating this.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to see how people are responding to each other, how they're responding to fans, and a lot of times the fans are grouping people up, and saying, as you can see, I voted for, A, B, C, and D. And so then everybody's favoriting the tweets or responding. And so you're basically responding and coinciding with all of your competitors at the same time. And so it's interesting. It's a tight balance that you have to kind of make amends with, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm guessing kind of with the campaign, because it runs to next Wednesday, to the finale. So do you have a strategy, Monica, in terms of how you're going to play it? Like, do a certain amount of interviews, put a certain amount of things, or are you just kind of taking it each day as it comes, really, to see what you can get out there?
I definitely have a plan. It seemed like it was so much more time to campaign than what it is. We're already nearly a week away. Which is crazy because it seemed like we had all this time to campaign, and it's really coming down to the wire. So I do have a plan as to how I want to run the whole campaign, what I want to do, what I want to show fans, how do I want to entertain them, how do I want to sway their votes. As for interviews, I'm trying to do as many as possible, because the more that people get to hear what I have to say and how I want to play the game, I feel like the more they'll be apt to vote for me as a person and as a game player. So I don't have a limit as to how many interviews I'm going to do. I'm just trying to fit them all in as much as possible.
And what are some of those things that you really want the fans to know? I mean, I kind of want to give you an opportunity here, Monica, to really spruik yourself a lot in terms of what you would bring, because obviously the fans listening to this, they're wanting to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Going in, I just really want to have more of a plan this time. I want to have more of a map and a goal set as to what I need to do. And of course, that'll change as time goes on, but I think it's really important for me to set out exactly how I'm going to get from point A to point B. A lot of times I kind of are in my game. Last time I kind of had that roll with the punches kind of mentality, like how can I possibly plan my next move? I don't even know, but this time I want to go into it with more of a chess mentality. Mm-hmm. It's more of a game like chess or like backgammon, where you really want to analyze each of your moves and the possible consequences that each of those moves will have. And so I think I'll be more apt to do that this time. I know last time I had considered doing it, but then once I got out there, it was just so overwhelming. Your first time being there and you're hungry, you're cold. So I want to go in and just be more aggressive about taking over my game and not just being quick to follow whatever everybody else says. I want to follow my gut a lot more, because the times that I didn't in Samoa were the times that really came back to bite me.
It's interesting. It's just, again, this is such a great time to be a Survivor fan, to be able to hear people like yourself just so openly talk about how you would play again. Because, I mean, we generally always ask a question on this show whenever we do any interview. And we always ask the question, would you play Survivor again, or have you been approached? And this is like that one time when obviously you have been approached, because you're on a list, Monica, that you might be back in a couple of weeks. So it's just, I don't know, it's just a very interesting way of being able to chat to people, given that in 2 weeks you could be out there filming season 31.
Yeah, it's the next evolution of the game, which is cool. I'd be curious to see how often they bring this back, or how this may mutate into the next cycle of the game. But it's fun to be a part of it, and to see the way that CBS and the show is basically evolving with the times and evolving with social media. Because when I went out there last time, I didn't even have a Twitter account. All I had was Facebook, and I think like a MySpace, because MySpace was the thing back in the day. So I had my Facebook and my MySpace, and it wasn't until I came back and after the finale that I set up a Twitter account. And so it's funny to see how the game has evolved and how the producers have taken into account the strong presence of social media and being able to talk directly with your fans. It's a lot of fun.
I say they need to bring back MySpace voting. That would make it interesting. I'm not sure how that would work. I think both people who use MySpace still probably wouldn't watch Survivor, but
yeah, there's no more top 8. It's like top 2.
Oh, they were some very political days, weren't they? When you look at your friend's account, what, I'm number 3. Why am I number 3?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's my brother's number 1, because he's my brother.
You always gotta have to argue your point. It's not good enough. I should be more important than your brother.
Oh my god! And then, there were like the songs. You change the song. Yeah. It's like when you sign on, and when somebody would go to your page, they could see like what background.
So it's very flashy and sparkly.
So silly.
Yes. Some people listening to this have no idea what we're talking about, Monica. But it was cool at the time, all right. Okay.
It was. It's really, it was the beginning of Facebook. It was really cool at the time. I used to waste countless hours on MySpace.
It had to look perfect. Come on. Now, we've got some listener questions. Now, we had some people send these in a couple of months ago, and it's funny actually reading through some of these because we've answered a few of them. But one here I want to start with. Fernando Javier Garcia Franceschini asks, would you ever...
That is a long name.
That is right. That is...
How many names does he have?
There's at least 4 there, and I don't even know if he's used them all.
His name is like a full sentence. That's awesome.
Well, his question
sounds very important.
His question is, would you ever play Survivor again if you had the opportunity?
Nah, I don't think so.
I couldn't see you out there.
Do that.
Why do you want to do
that? Once is enough. I'm cool.
Now, Fernando asks, he's got here, I'm going to absolutely butcher the pronunciation of this, Monica, so please bear with me here when I say this. He says, also, I believe you are a fellow Puerto Rican, so... Saludos desde Puerto Rico. I can't... Yeah.
He's sending me hellos from Puerto Rico. Hola.
There you go.
Sí, soy de Puerto Rico. Soy de Cabo Rojo.
Oh, that sounds perfect. See, I couldn't even get close to that. So,
Oh my God, yeah, no, I love my fellow Puerto Ricans. I've come from New York, and I am a proud Puerto Rican. So it's cool to get love from the island for sure.
Billy Garcia, fellow Survivor Puerto Rican from Cook Islands. I don't know how much you've had dealing with Billy Garcia over the years, but
yeah.
Bring back
He's awesome.
Hashtag bring back Billy. I just want to say that. Now, Aiden Abeletta, I always get his name wrong. This is similar to kind of going back, but he asked, is a rumor true that you got asked back for Blood vs. Water with your mum?
Not with my mom. No, that's not true. I mean, they asked me if I had anyone that I would really want to play with, and my mom wouldn't. My mom would. I love my mom. I love you, mommy, but she would not be good on Survivor. Like, no way. She would have a total meltdown. She would, and she knows it too. I was asked to go back with Blood Rush Water. They asked me if there's anyone that I would want to play with. I really, really, really wanted to play with my sister. My sister actually applied for one of the original seasons of Survivor. I think it was like season 2 or 3.
Right.
And she sent in her video. She was a mom at the time. She sent in a video of her fighting with her kids in the car, and she never got a call. So when I was about to do the show, or I was approached to do the show, and I did it, she was just so proud and so happy because she felt like she was living vicariously through me.
Fantastic.
But when I got the call from casting and they asked who I'd want to play with, I said, hands down, my sister. Well, my sister's a total sweetheart. She can be feisty, but I think she's so polite on the onset that I don't think that they felt she had what it took, based on their first conversation with her, because they didn't know her like I do. And so they did not move forward with us. That makes
that's sad. Well,
I was like, you better call that casting. You better show them your Puerto Rican attitude, Missy. And she did. She's like, Monica wants me to show you how I am, because I can be feisty and I can be hardcore. And they were like, we appreciate you calling, but we were in a decision. I was like, damn it, Lisa.
damn it.
Messed us up.
Oh, well, she could be out there on your family visit, Monica. Who knows? So
Yeah, maybe.
she could get to
maybe.
see it. She could get to see it. Now, Joe Salata, this is an interesting question. He says, first of all, Monica, huge fan. There has been several members of your season on this show, Survivor Oz, whom have implied in Ponderosa and such that production was pressuring people to vote Russell to win. Did you see or hear any of that?
They didn't specifically pressure me to vote for Russell. Everything with production that goes on with the confessionals and everything, they really just want you to weigh all of your options. They'll ask you questions, if you say, I definitely want to vote for Mick to win, they'll say, well, did you consider Natalie? And what are the pros and cons of Natalie? And did you consider Russell? And what are the pros and cons of Russell? And did you consider this or that or the other? So I don't know. I mean, they may have had different conversations than I did with production. But as for me, no, I was never pressured. Either way, I was just asked if I thought about all of the different outcomes and all the different possibilities.
And I'm guessing going into Final Tribal then, you always were going to be voting for Natalie then, yes?
I did struggle with it. I mean, I like went back and forth as to what I wanted to do. I mean, you kind of don't even want to vote for anybody when you're at that point, You're like, I don't want to vote. Just leave me alone. But yeah, I went back and forth, but I really thought it out as much as possible. And I, again, just went with my gut and who I felt I really wanted to put my vote for.
Beautiful. All right. Now, this is a great question here, actually. That was the one. George Alvarado here says, as someone from a tribe that got little airtime, what do you feel the viewers missed about your own character and the Galoo tribe as a whole?
We were a really strong tribe together, but we were almost like a little dysfunctional family. I mean, no one really was turning on each other too badly, except for maybe like Shamble and Laura were definitely at odds with each other. And Shamble was really targeting Laura a lot of the time, and she thought that Laura was targeting her, and she wasn't really. But there were little things, there were little close-knit relationships within the tribe that I think the viewers would have really loved to see. And there was a lot of early gameplay talk. I know before we even hit the merge, Laura and I would be, out in the rocks counting out who we saw going to the end, who we trusted the most, who we trusted the least, and so forth. And so there was a lot of that they didn't really find necessary to show because we weren't going to tribal. But it would be interesting to show how much we talked strategy, even when we didn't need to, because we were that hungry to play. We were that hungry to make moves,
And on a season where I believe Russell, I think, got 108 confessionals from memory, it's going to be hard to get some airtime too.
Yes, right. Yes. Well, he's such a character. He's really, and he's funny. can't really deny that. He's definitely funny, and he's a character, and he made some great moves. And his tribe was constantly losing challenges.
They were. Now, a couple here, actually. These are sort of more comments and questions, and these bode well for you then for the vote coming up. Eric from Richmond says, God, I love Monica. I don't even know what to say to her except that she's the raddest woman in Survivor history, in my not-so-humbled opinion. I wish they would bring her back. Could you please tell her that? There you go.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Eric from Richmond. That just put a smile on my face. I think I'm blushing.
Oh, well.
In Survivor history? Oh, thank you.
I've got another one here, too, actually. Joe Singleton.
I haven't even seen, like, all the good stuff that I have to give. Wait till you see that. You're going to be like, oh, my God.
He'll be sending this in again in a couple of months. Joe Singleton, though, says also, I just want to begin by saying that you're one of my favourite survivors of all time. There you go. There's a good start. And the question Joe has, during your boot episode, Russell said that he thought he and you would have been a powerful alliance had you been together from the beginning. My question is, would you have aligned with him had you been on Foa at the start of the game, and how far do you think you would have gone together had you chosen to?
You know, you never know until you're there. You know what I mean? And I think I've actually had this conversation with Russell before where I said, you know, I probably would have yelled at you or done something crazy, and you would have been like, she's like, I'm a rape, so I got her out, you know? But I think that I don't go in with a mindset of I'm not going to do this, or I'm going to do this, or this is how I'm going to play. I think it's a matter of making the decision as it fits you in that moment, and making the best decision that you could make. I really can't say in retrospect. I think it's tough because he is a really strong character, and especially in our season, he made a lot of power moves, and he was pretty villainous. So I don't know if I would have been okay with aligning with that. I think now if he were to play, he would be a little bit smoother about it, and smoother about his social game, as it's cost him the $1 million at least twice. So
would have been interesting. Now, the last one I'll ask you before we get to our final five here, Monica. This is a funny one. Kevin McLean says, Monica, on a scale from Brett to Russell Hantz, how much of a douche is John Fincher?
Oh my God. Do you want... Okay, I'll give you my two answers. I'll give you the answer that I would have given you while I was on Samoa. And I'll give you the answer that I'll give you now as me, post Samoa. So while I was in Samoa, I would have said he was on like the 1,000,000% douche scale. I don't know. John Fincher drove me nuts towards the end of his run on that island. And I couldn't even stand him. I was like dying to take him out. Once I got to Ponderosa and I got to just hang out with him on more of a personal level, John Fincher's not too douchey. He's cool to hang out with. I've sat and had a drink with John Fincher multiple times. He's cool. He's not bad. I mean, he's really fun, and he's personable and social. He's a little cocky, but I mean, those characteristics aren't as annoying in the real world as they are on Survivor. Everything's heightened, and so even the smallest thing is just so big when you're out there because you're just out of your comfort zone. So yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, that's my answer.
I like it. We had John on within the last 12 months or so, and I really enjoyed our chat with him, actually. I always sort of liked John during Samoa, so yeah, no.
So funny, I heard he's dating Parvati now too, right?
Yeah, he pretty much confirmed that when he was on the show. But I mean, look, I don't know if they're still together. I hope they are, because that's an interesting coupling. So
right, that's super interesting.
Yeah, very much so. So go, John. All right. Now we wrap up every sort of interview with Set of Five. Now again, people listening to these and our Second Chance campaign ones, wondering why perhaps we're asking these questions to Monica and not to some of the other people. This, of course, is Monica's very first time on Survivor Oz, so we've got to grill her with our questions because these, Monica, I will say, you get these right, you will be on season 31. How does that sound for pressure?
Oh no, the pressure's on. I think I'm losing the connection.
Oh, Monica's going. We start off. Now, this is actually going to be fun to hear your answer because, again, you could be out there in 2 weeks facing this guy, looking at him in the face again. What are 3 things you learnt about Jeff Probst during your time on Survivor?
Oh my God, hilarious. What did I learn about Jeff Probst? Number one, he has an uncanny ability to figure out what's going on at camp, even though he's not there, and knows exactly what questions to ask. Number two, he always caught me whenever I tried to like get one by him or get an advantage in a challenge. I was never thrown out of a challenge, but I was always told that I was pushing the limits.
I can imagine that.
So he doesn't miss anything.
Monica, pushing the limit.
Monica, you're pushing it again. Don't make a decision. I was like, sorry, Jen. Well, it was like one time they were doing a puzzle and someone dropped a piece. And if they didn't have that piece, we were going to lose. And the rule was we weren't supposed to like tell them or help them with this puzzle. And so it's coming down to the wire and they drop the piece. They don't even know the piece is gone. I think Brett was the one doing the puzzle. And I was like, you dropped the piece! And Jeff's like, Monica. Monica.
Wow.
And then in another memory challenge, we weren't supposed to point as to where objects were, but someone was going to go grab the wrong object. So I literally and you weren't supposed to look back at your tribe. And I think I looked at them and looked at the object and was like, and again, Jeff was like, you love to push their limits, don't you? I'm like, sorry, Jeff.
You can keep doing that. Try keep doing that in a couple of weeks. See how he's developed over like 11, 12 seasons.
Oh my God, I just have to be a little more sneaky. And the last thing that I learned about Jeff Probst and that I do admire is that he doesn't have an umbrella guy like Pharrell.
Well, that's a good point, actually, because he generally goes out there and gets as wet as you guys, doesn't he? So
yeah, he totally does. Which I can respect.
There you go. There you go. All right.
And he doesn't stay with us at camp, obviously. That's enough.
He just goes back and has a nice shower afterwards. So,
Bastard.
yes. Now, question number 2, Monica. Out of the seasons you have seen of Survivor, what has been your favourite and least favourite season?
Ooh, favorite and least favorite season. I really liked Micronesia.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a good season.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved it. I loved the players. I just thought it was so cool. I just loved it. I really liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
My least favorite might be Nicaragua,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. That one was kind of meh.
I like your political answers, given that both those seasons feature nobody on this list of 32. So good work. You're not pissing anybody off or like sucking up to people. So well done.
You know what? Those are honestly my favorite and least favorite.
There you go. Well, it works out well. So that works. Question number 3. In terms of the this one, again, you can think of anybody from any season. Who to you is the sexiest ever contestant?
Ooh, sexiest ever contestant.
Mm-hmm.
I may have to say. Oh, this is so hard.
We try.
Oh my gosh. Crap. Let me think. Sexiest ever. I think I'd have to say Amanda.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amanda's super hot.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that wholeheartedly, Monica. Good answer.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was thinking about Amanda for a second there. Question number 4. Who to you is the greatest player never to have won? You can answer yourself if you want to as well.
Ooh, greatest player to never have won. This one's really tough.
We get a couple of tough ones in there. We at least try to anyway.
I know, right? You know what? I'm going to say Ozzy.
Ozzy?
Yeah, I'm going to say Ozzy.
Okay.
I think Ozzy, even though Ozzy's social game wasn't flawless, I admired Ozzy's game, and I loved the way he played the game, and I loved just overall as a Survivor character. I just loved him. I thought he was great.
Okay. And question number 5 then. Who is your least favourite winner?
Ooh.
You're not going to piss any of them off because, again, they're not playing with you in a couple of weeks, so that's all right.
Very true. Very true. Who is my least favorite winner? I don't know. Maybe, at the time he was kind of my favorite winner, but then over time in his return, maybe, no, because I really loved JT at the time, so I can't say he was my least favorite. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm stumped. I don't know.
Plead the 5th?
I plead the fifth.
Okay, sorry. It's a term that I learnt doing this show, Monica, and I like to use it every now and then.
Ah.
I'm Australian. Nobody gets it when I use it here, but if I talk to Americans, they know what I'm talking about.
It's really hard, Wood.
Yes.
It's really, really hard.
Well, I don't know how this last question will go for you then, Monica. Who to you is the greatest ever player of Survivor and why?
Who's the greatest player? I mean, I can go cliche and say Parvati, which is what everybody says, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I love Sandra. I mean, she's a 2-time winner. That's awesome. Yeah, those are two of my favorites for sure.
You can put them out there if you want to. There's a reason why they're cliche, so you got to look at it for a reason.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, we'll put that in stone. That's all locked in. And I will take this opportunity, Monica, to wish you the best of luck for this campaign. We're going to put all the links, of course, in this article on our website where people can check you out on Twitter. They can check you out on Facebook, where they can go to vote for you, of course, as well, because they can do that every single day via cbs.com. And make sure you do it every day, because some people are sort of leaving a couple of days between when they vote. So you do have that power, of course, to vote every single day. But best of luck, Monica, and look,
Thank you so much.
Hope to see you out there, and no matter what, we'll get you back on the show, hopefully as a contestant from season 31, or just to talk about 31. How does that sound?
Yes, let's do it. Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been so fun, and I'm so happy to have come on.
There we go, Monica Padilla, and fantastic to get her on the show, because we had her lined up a couple of months ago, and sadly it didn't happen, so fantastic to get her on and help her campaign, and get those questions out there as well. And for the listener questions, some of you might have been listening to this going, I didn't send that question in. Again, we put up a get involved when we initially were going to have her on the show, so we had a few of those questions lying around. So yeah, best of luck to Monica campaigning to get on season 31. Right now, we, of course, will be continuing more Survivor Second Chance interviews. At the time of recording this, I'm about to interview Keith Nail from Survivor San Juan del Sur, and technically his first full appearance on the show as well. But we have plenty of other people lined up, and again, as I keep saying, get in listener questions, because we will only be posting up listener questions for those who have not appeared on the show before. So if you've got any specific questions for people like Jeff Varner, for people like Troy Zan, for Terry, who have been on the show before, you can still send them in and we will put them to them. So get them in ASAP, and we'll make sure to get those questions there. SurvivorOz.com is where you can find all the information, the interviews on our website. Of course, subscribe to us on iTunes, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and you will find everything there that you can poke a stick at. My name is Ben, though. The tribe has spoken. Thanks for tuning into Survivor Oz, and we will speak to you next time on The Trains.